Well, the circus might be in town at 1060 West Addison. We'll get into the clown show that was Carter Hawkins' comments coming up right now on the Setup Man podcast. Welcome into a very special edition of the Setup Man podcast. You got the full bullpen tonight. You got Ty, myself, and the Podfather joining us today. Kyle couldn't stay away. We have to talk about the craziness that Carter Hawkins just gave willingly to the press, and now we get to devour tonight. But before we do any of that, make sure you hit that like button on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that little bell, so anytime there's a fun little nugget of content or anything, you will be alerted firsthand. So we're going to get to the Carter Hawkins stuff in a second, but this episode's going to be a little different. There's going to be a lot of jumping around, and yours truly, because, well, I work early, and yes, I'm a bit of a baby. I have to hop off, but we are pre-recording this before Cubs Cardinals on Sunday Night Baseball. It was too important. We couldn't wait. So we're here. Kyle and Ty will talk about the Cardinals series, but we are going to talk about Carter Hawkins right now. So if you missed it, if you live under a rock, Carter Hawkins willingly, I want to make sure that's clear, willingly said this to ESPN, quote, "Teams are trying to find a guy that can lock down the 8th or 9th inning, but that also costs a lot. That costs a lot of future wins. We have a responsibility to the 2025 Cubs, but also the 2032 Cubs. That's not always popular in the moment, but it's decisions we have to make. In a year where the Cubs could potentially go all the way,
it's a cop-out. That's a cop-out.
They're worried about 2032. And Kyle, I know you were heated on our text chain. Everyone, clear out. The ball is yours."
Well, I mean, you didn't even mention, like, we are honored to have Carter Hawkins on the show here tonight. Thank you for being here.
It's been one of those years that this organization doesn't have any feel, and their PR has been an absolute nightmare when it comes to the comments that Jed Hoyer and myself have made. But at this time, we're focusing on 2032. So, Kyle, I'll pass it back over to you, my friend.
Listen, I mean, to me, those comments are kind of like getting rejected by the pretty girl in school and being like, well, I didn't have Friday night available anyway, so it wouldn't have worked out. I mean, am I wrong? And by the way, Ty always thinks that I have these ready to go. I've been waiting for these. That one just came out of my mouth. I did not have that one ready. But that's, I mean, as I hear that for like the 17th time and think about the timing, it's a cop-out. Like, it really is to look back and to say on Jed said it, Tom said it. We had internal sources who had internal sources that all said if the Cubs were in a good position at the trade deadline, they were going to go all in. I think they tried. I want to give them at least that opportunity, as I do think they tried. I think that they went after Mackenzie Gore. I think they went after Mitch Keller. I think they went after Joe Ryan. I think they had those conversations. So we have to at least give them that credit. But when you don't get the job done and then you say, oh, but we're really worried about 2032. No. Just go on there and say exactly what happened. We didn't get the job done. It was too expensive for our blood. You can see across the board that no starting pitching with any control went. And we didn't feel comfortable with giving up that much talent because guess what? We don't know if Kyle Tucker's coming back. So we didn't want Owen Casey to leave. And even if Kyle Tucker does come back, we still like this guy, Moises Ballesteros, as a DH. Like they're not going to say those things, but that's the things that as fans, I think we deserve to kind of hear a little bit about. But I do want to play. I've been waiting all day long to ask Alex and Ty, both of you, this question. We always give the Cubs players the benefit of the doubt. And I'll get the most recent situation was Michael Soroka getting signed. Ty, I think you said it. I apologize if it was you, Alex, but one of you said, we're now going to put too much pressure on Michael Soroka to be, quote unquote, the guy when he's not the guy. He's a number 4. He's a number 5 pitcher, and we want him to come in and save our season. Do you think that we can look at Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins the same way? Are they not ace pitchers? Or maybe they are ace pitchers, but they're ceiling is put so low from a Tom Ricketts standpoint that we're putting so much pressure on them for a job that they're not even being allowed to do from the top?
It's a good conspiracy, but it's a tough question to answer because I do think they know their limitations, they know their restrictions. Fair enough. But then when you look at something like the trade deadline, hey, we got all this money to spend if we need to go add, great. Well, you didn't because, oh, it costs too much. But it costs too much in player capital. So that, to me, this whole thing has begged the question of, well, then why didn't you do more in January, February, March? There were guys out there, and you didn't want to do it. Nope, we got to save our money, got to save our money. Can't go over the tax again. Got to save the money. But we'll have it in July. Well, but you didn't want to spend the player capital. So something isn't connecting. I do think they are under constraints. I will give them that credit. But at the end of the day, why trade for Kyle Tucker then at the end of the day? What? I don't understand what the plan is. And maybe the plan is 2032. Maybe we're going to rely on kids that are currently in high school and not in our system yet.
It's just a silly comment. It's such a silly comment.
I understand what he's saying. Yes, you don't want to mortgage the future for 1 year. Okay, fine. Because look what happened after 2016. 2017 was cool. 2018, arrow started pointing down. We had to sell off in 21. All right, fine.
But that wasn't because we sold off. That was because players stopped performing.
True.
You know, like we gave up Gleyber Torres for a World Series championship. Basically, I'll do that any day of the week. Sorry to interrupt you here, Alex, but like this is the difference here is that like if they want to point to 2016 and then the years past that and say, well, they weren't very good after that. The answer to that is that has nothing to do with what happened in 2016. It has everything to do with Chris Bryant getting injured, Javier Baez becoming a great player, but then suddenly just like it was just like it's a home run or it's nothing with him and Schwarber and Jorge Soler goes through all those injuries. Like it was a performance-based thing. It wasn't because we gave away the farm outside of the Jose Quintana trade. I will give them that.
My whole thing is they couldn't backfill. That was the problem. They didn't develop pitching. And I mean, that's kind of a different argument, but I think it all kind of blends together. But bottom line, this front office lost my trust this last week, and then I see those comments. Now, what would be well, I'll ask both of you. What's your confidence level they're going to re-sign Kyle Tucker? They keep saying, oh, well, this is a guy we want to build around. They're saying all the right things, but then they say something like this. It's like, you don't really give a shit, do you? You just want to make sure your pocketbooks are clean. You don't really give a shit what we, the fans, want. We deserve a winner. This is entertainment, right? But you don't want to spend to put an entertaining product on the field, which means there's not going to be a good team. You want to be Milwaukee. You want to be Cleveland. You want to be Tampa. You're not. You have the guts and the money to go be a great team. You have a good team. You could have made it great. Too rich for your blood. It's inexcusable, and it's absurd. It really is.
That's a real shame. So to answer your question, I think at the end of the day, I walked around Wrigley a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago, when I was with my buddy for his bachelor party, and I looked around. I went, "Wow!" I go, "This is baseball. This is paradise for a baseball fan. If you're over the age of 21, you got everything you want and more. If you're a fan below the age of 21, you have everything you want, more, and then some." So realistically, this organization is making money up the wazoo. And I'm sorry, but I don't really even think to say, well, I would need to check their books. I just don't see I've been in business now for a few years now. I can kind of look at that and go, yeah, you're probably making a few dollars. So I don't think you necessarily need to worry about the fact of them opening their books. And with Ricketts coming out and saying that, he of course can say that because they don't have to show anything that they have. They're all answering questions to push it towards the future and make it as if, hey, fans, look, we're really in it for the long run. I'll give you a prime example, guys. Okay. They want to be like the Dodgers. Okay. They say that all the time, or they've said they wanted to be like certain organizations, or they look at certain organizations better than others. The Dodgers spent over $700 million on one player, and they are going to make upwards probably over over that with how much money they're going to bring in revenue-wise over the next, whatever it is, 10 years. So, look, this organization right now has made moves to make it better on their budgets, right? And I actually wanted to bring up one other funny thing to think about. They are right. Carter is true. He's not worried about the 2032 Cubs because technically Cam Smith would not be a part of the 2032 Cubs. He would actually be gone by then. So I give myself, Carter Hawkins, as I sit here and hear you guys bickering at me and yelling at me about me not doing my job properly, which I would agree with you, is the fact is that this organization only cares about one thing, and that is the money that's going back into their pockets right now. And if they say otherwise, they're wrong, because the largest contract they've ever handed out was for a player by the name of Jason Hayward that was below $200 million. And guess what, folks? If you don't want to spend money, I guarantee you are not going to win a World Series, and this organization does not care about doing that at this time.
I am untethered and my rage knows no bounds!
That's how I feel. You're right.
What in the world is that from?
That is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Corojo Cube? Is that for Corojo Cube?
That's for my guy, yeah.
I love that.
Okay, wait. So let's just set the stage here for a second, because I want to say I've met Carter Hawkins, I've met Jed Hoyer at spring training. They seem like wonderful people. Okay. I want to establish that we are not sending personal attacks their way. I want to establish that I believe, and I think that you guys are saying the same thing, and that's why I asked the question. I believe their hands are tied when it comes to a lot of things, but I really don't think Jed Hoyer, even if he did have the shackles off from Tom, I don't think he makes any of these deals anyway, because he's not Theo. And it's a shame that Theo had to leave, and it's a shame that Tom basically, I don't want to say bullied, but basically gave Theo no choice on his way out because of the way that he was running the organization. Theo saw the ship going down before anyone. And I think Tom saw that as a blessing of like, great, I don't have to go battle Theo on a daily basis anymore. I think he saw Jed and said, great, like Jed's going to be my yes man. And that's why he's getting that extension. Why do you think that he got an extension before the trade deadline? He got an extension before the trade deadline because he said, I don't want you to spend the money now. I want you to think ahead to the future, and I want you to make us good. By the way, good is the enemy of great. I don't mean to be cliche, but good is the enemy of great. And for Jed, the day of the failed trade deadline, to say we're focused on being good for years and years and years to come, just tells you, even if he meant the word great, because he said the word good, it just tells you where their heads are at. They just want to be good enough to be able to charge you in the triple digits for those bleacher seats, to charge you in the $20 for those beers, and to do the things that Tom wants them to do, which is really unfortunate. And, we might get some backlash from the whole organization on this. I really don't give a crap, because at the end of the day, we are a voice for the fans, and the fans right now, if I am correct, and please comment down below if you are not on the same page with us, but we're tired of it. We're tired of, hey, we won it in 2016, so our job is done. Check. We're tired of, hey, well, that one time that we went all in 2017 and got Jose Quintana, we gave away some really big chips, and we don't want to do that again. That's the freaking job of baseball ops and a front office, is to take risks. And some of them are not going to work, and some of them are. Just look at the Cam Smith thing. All right. If you would have asked us in June, are you happy about that trade? All of us would have said yes. Now that Kyle Tucker's been struggling, we're kind of like, oh, we kind of wish Cam Smith was here. So there's risks that you take. And I just, at the end of the day, I tweeted about it right when we got the Michael Soroka trade. And our good friend Matt Cozy actually kind of challenged me on it, and I was okay with that. But he said, I tweeted, if this is what it's going to take for the Cubs to get a basically number 5 starter and a long man, basically is what he was, for like 2 top 15 prospects, then imagine what it's going to cost for a number 1 pitcher or a number 2 pitcher. And I don't think Jed has the balls to do that. So I think he's going to end up giving away top prospects for basically a number 3 pitcher. And I don't really want to do that right now. And that's exactly what I think ended up happening, was that Jed realized he had to give away multiple top prospects, which he's not going to do. And he probably could have got call it Merrill Kelly, but he was probably going to have to give away a Jefferson Rojas or something like that. And he wasn't going to do that. So it's just like, that's why at the end of the day, if you either go all in or you don't go all in, and Jed kind of lives in this middle grounds of like, if I find a good deal, then I'll go for it. And that's just not going to take us anywhere in the next 5 years or however long his contract is signed for.
Absolutely. And the other thing too is that, like, I look at the Dodgers and they say, oh, well, they always have a substitute to, prop into a spot that maybe they had gotten rid of a guy or maybe have moved on, right? You have Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, and Shohei Ohtani. That is a completely different ball game that we're talking about. Right now, Kyle Tucker leaves. You obviously, we're all relying on PCA to become a superstar, which we all are very, very high on. And we all feel very, very good about, even though he's been slumping a little bit, but you feel very good about it. After that, you have nice pieces. So the idea of this good situation is going to be prevalent for a couple of years now. Then you're going to rely on some of these youngsters to really turn out and be studs. But at that point, are you willing to bring in some big time names and big time players to supplement that? Or is it going to be a situation where we're having to move a bad contract to try to take less money, and then we can finally get this guy, and then we trade away another future superstar like we did at Cam Smith, and then we're in this ever revolving door until 2032. So,
well, and Ty, newsflash here, other teams don't like our farm system. It's not as good as we thought it was a year ago. I don't see Kevin Alcantara making a difference on this team. I don't see James Triantos making any impact. I love Owen Casey, cool guy, had him on the show. His strikeout rate is not going to do it in the major leagues. He's not like Kyle Schwarber down in the minor leagues dropping 40 bombs. Okay, he's on a hot streak right now, but point out any other time in his minor league career that he's been a guy that you're like, wow, can't wait to get him up. Meanwhile, he sits at our number 1 prospect or number 2, whatever it is right now. Moises Ballesteros and Jackson Wiggins are really the only guys that I say, yeah, those are going to be studs. But even then, are we looking at a superstar? I don't know. Probably not, because Moises Ballesteros doesn't play a defensive position that anyone's comfortable with. And Jackson Wiggins, who knows what could happen, because he's a pitcher. He's a pitcher. Every single pitcher that throws over 98 that comes up to the majors is suddenly on the DL because of something with the shoulder, something with an elbow. And then it's like there's more Mark Pryors in Major League Baseball today than there's ever been, with all this potential and always injured. And so when I look at this organization, and then Carter Hawkins says, we're thinking about 2032, show me who's going to make an impact right now, even in 2028, when there's baseball again, that's in the minor leagues. Jefferson Rojas, maybe. Moises Ballesteros, probably. Jackson Wiggins, maybe. That's your 3. And I'm not a prospect guy. So, bring in Greg Huss and bring in the Cubs on deck guys, and they can probably prove me wrong. But my point is that in 2014, 2015, we had superstars coming through our organization. You tell me, hey, we're thinking about 2016, 2017. We're not thinking about 2014, 2015. I'm all in on that. But when you say that same thing here in 2025 with the organization, the farm system that we have, that we are seeing is just not all that good, I'm out.
And how can you have a projection-based model in the situation that you're in with the farm system right now? How can you sit there and say this team is going to project out to be this certain level of an 85-win team and slide into the playoffs and maybe get lucky? There has to come a point as a big market team that you look at it and say, screw the projection models. We're going to buy the guys that we know are really, really good right now. Really good. And that's what some of the top organizations in baseball have done, especially at the deadline. Yes, there were some really, really big names that if you are a prospect hugger, you were sitting there going, whoo, Leo DeVries, excellent player, right? Some other names from other organizations have gone as well. I know it's a tough pill to swallow, but that player is not impacting the ball club for the next, call it, 6-7 years. So again, if you're worried about 2032, then you better start talking that way and emulating that, because your farm system right now does not provide that opportunity to be successful in 2032. So,
Ty, we said this on the last show. It's Disney thinking. It's hoping and wishing.
bingo.
It's all this outperform projections. Okay, fine. I get that has to happen, and there's got to be surprises and breakout players. That's every team in every sport since the beginning of time. I understand that. But Kyle, you mentioned the Quintana trade. Okay, we gave up Dylan Cease. He'd look really good in a Cubs uniform right now. Okay, fine. The other pieces? Well, first of all, you can't name the third one. And Eloy Jimenez isn't in baseball. A lot of these guys don't pan out. So, we got a prospect. We got to keep these guys. Well, Casey's strikeout rate is concerning. So is he going to hit what? 220 with 30 home runs? Is that super productive? I mean, 30 home runs, sure, but he's only hitting 220. There's a lot of hoping and wishing right now. And I think where I'm frustrated is we're just being told we're kicking the can down the road. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Yeah, we'll talk to Kyle Tucker in the offseason. Hey, we'll address it in the offseason. Well, at some point, you guys don't have anyone on the books. Suzuki's up after next year. Tyona's up after next year. There's a lockout coming. Pretty sure the only guy on their books long term is Dansby Swanson. And he's finishing up year 3 of a 7-year deal. So you only got him for 4 more years. What is the plan? Because we all kind of assume that this is the year. We're going in. We're doing it. Let's ride. And we were all excited about the deadline. Ty, how many shows did we do about the GD trade deadline? I don't even want to say the word deadline on this show anymore. It needs to be banned. But we have to talk about it because our front office keeps making stupid comments like this. Fans don't want to hear that. Well, it's our job. I get that's your job, man. But are you that tone deaf? We're all just angry at you guys for maybe you failed, maybe you didn't. I guess we'll find out in October if we even get there, by the way. It's just they have no sense for this fan base. And honestly, at the end of the day, they don't seem to care. That's my biggest frustration.
I think too, as fans, I can't remember who said it. It was either MLB Network. It might have been at one of those independent podcasts, but I loved what they said. And it was the fans have to keep ownership and the front office accountable. They need to be screaming about this. And what happened? Well, we came out, we exceeded expectations. And as soon as Jed was signed to an extension, well, suddenly from January of 2025 to July of 2025, probably 90% of fans' minds have been changed just because of our record. That extension came across the desk, and I was like, I would like to know what was done to earn this extension. I want to know what the expectation was of Jed from Tom when the season started. Because A, we haven't reached the playoffs yet. B, the Brewers are right on our tail. C, we got the most important trade deadline in a decade, and he's getting the extension now. And fans, I'm keeping myself accountable too, but I would like to do a call to action for fans listening right now. We have to stay accountable to calling out the front office because the front office listens. Do you guys remember what Tom said to Brian, setup man Brian, at Wrigley Field? Our good friend and partner of the show, Brian Burns, setup man Brian on Twitter, go check him out, saw Tom Ricketts at Wrigley and said, Tom, what's something as a fan that we don't know about owning a team? And Tom literally, even though he had said it before and got reamed for it, said it again in public to Brian, we're just breaking even every year. Who in their right minds, it's literally like cheating on your wife, apologizing, and then saying, oh, I slipped up again. Sorry. Like, no, if it happens twice, like, you're just a dumbass. Sorry. Did I just say that out loud? Oh,
like and subscribe.
He just tried to censor me. That's what just happened. So then Brian said, okay, well then how can I support you guys? What do I buy more swag? Do I go to more games? Do I buy the box seats instead of the bleachers? Like, what can I do to make sure you guys don't break even? And Tom's response was, stand up for us on social media. He's listening. He knows. And
we'll stand up when there's a reason to stand up for you.
And that's my point. When we give a pass, we as fans have to take responsibility. When we give a pass and we say Jed deserved the extension because that was just look at all the tweets. Most of the tweets when Jed was extended, it was kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm fine with this now because we have a good record. We lost track of the fact that Jed didn't do a full enough job in the offseason, and now we're paying for it in the second half. We have to remain loud on social media about our displeasure. We can't just do it during the bad times, because what they'll think is, well, let's just do it, make a good enough team to go on a little bit of a run here, and then fans will forget about it. Fans forget about anything when you win. We have to rationally think sometimes as fans is like, yeah, we're winning, but are we putting out a lineup like the Brewers and just getting lucky and stealing a lot of bags, or do we actually have a superstar lineup? So that's my call to all of us, including the three of us here on the show right now.
Well, Ty, I'll let you speak in just a second. Look what happened with Cody Bellinger. I am convinced that if Cubs convention of that year didn't happen, they don't re-sign Cody Bellinger, because every time that he took the stage, Cody, and ultimately it didn't matter because they traded him away a year later. But that's the kind of pressure this front office needs. And I'm just telling you, if Kyle Tucker walks, I have a shirt that I'm going to wear on this show all winter that is not nice to the front office. In fact, our friends at Obvious Shirts got in trouble for it. But I don't know what else to say. You're a billionaire. You have a player that you can market around, make money off of. What else do you need? And we all know too well, Owen Casey's pretty good. He'll be in right field. All right, cool. We're taking a step back next year. I'm calling my shot now. It's going to be a step back because the arrow's already pointing down. And if Kyle Tucker's not here, then what? You're going to go sign the equivalent of Nate.
They're not getting Kyle Schwarber. They're not getting Kyle Schwarber. I can tell you that.
No. So they're going to go Suzuki and, Ballesteros can DH. It's like, forget it, man. We're going to rely on rookies who might be great. Maybe they will be. But more question marks, more Disney wishing and hoping.
I'm guessing those two words that are on that shirt ending with Tom are probably what's going to be worn this offseason if Mr. Kyle Tucker isn't on this team. And in the term of break even, right?
Yep.
All I have to say to this, because I know we might be running up on time here. But this has been such a great conversation, guys. Look at what 2015 to 2017 did for Cub fans. It not only made us as real fans that watched season in, season out, 2012, 2013, 2014. I mean, Rizzo talked about it on the Johnny Manziel podcast, where it was just like, those are just like, it is hard to show up to the ballpark, man. Right. And it's hard to show up as a fan right now with just the comments that have been made and the decisions that have been made to not make this team better at a time where you probably are going to lose some players in this offseason, in Kyle Tucker and others that didn't feel like this team went all the way in, right? What 2015 to 2017 did, though, is it brought in new fans. It brought in the kids of those parents that had been watching that team forever. Maybe it was the father or the mother of the grandfather that, son or daughter of the grandfather that had been watching it for years and never wanted to watch because it was the lovable losers. And all of a sudden he got on that TV every single day and watched as Addison Russell hits a double in the gap, or Chris Bryant hits one over the fence off of Trevor Bauer, right? All these things where you created something that was special. And if we're looking at it from a business aspect, you brought in more fans, which ultimately will bring in more revenue, which will ultimately lead to more profits. Versus what you're doing right now is you're really pissing off your customers, and you're going to start to lose customers. Baseball is a long season, guys. It is a lot to watch. They've tried to shorten the game enough, but even a lot of my buddies are like, I'd rather watch football, right? You have all these things that are not panning your way. And you're sitting there thinking, what we're going to say right now is really going to impress our customers, right? I guarantee you, every single person in Philly right now is living right next to Rocky on that throne, man, because the Phillies are buying the Phillies are buying everybody. The Eagles are winning Super Bowls. The 76ers are still winning as well. Like, you see what a city can become when you win. And you have the chance right now. You are not in sell mode. You are in buy mode. And it was a disgrace to your fans of what you've done the last 6 months, coming from not only the top Mr. Mr. Ricketts, but all the way through down to the players on the field. It's been sad to see that we as fans can look right through your BS.
Well, the crazy thing is it's never going to happen, but if they put a crappy product out on the field and the fans are like, I don't really want to pay attention to this, and they do end up, quote unquote, losing money, it's a perfect excuse. He's used it before. Biblical losses, can't do it. Sorry. It's a perfect excuse for them. It's a win-win for them. For us, we just have to sit in limbo.
And I think, we've talked about it for 30 minutes, and I've really enjoyed the conversation. And I know there's going to be fans that are going to listen to this and be like, stop being negative. Stop focusing on all what's been said. Let's focus on winning some games. And yes, to all that. I want to just reiterate, I think as podcasters, and let's just be honest, like, we are part of the media, whether some people want to admit it or not. As part of the media, we're not marquee. We're not The Athletic. We're not The Score. We can say stuff that stands up for you guys, the fans. They can't say stuff. So there needs to be someone that speaks for the fans, and we're trying to do that right now, because honestly, I hope Carter and Jed and Tom see this, because Tom even admitted it. He already is listening enough on social media. I hope I get a call from someone at the Cubs organization talking about how we're not allowed to do that, because guess what? I don't care. We are fans. And part of the fan voice is knowing where you guys stand as you listen to this. If that didn't piss you off, I'm sorry, you're part of the lovable loser gang. Just being honest. We'll still go grab a beer. We're by the way, this crew right here is going to be at a game in September. We're going to let you guys know more about that later. We would love to, no matter.
Breaking news. I didn't know we were breaking that tonight.
Yeah, we're not. I'll tell you more about another one, but you come have a beer with us. I say all the time, us as Cubs fans, we all want the same thing. We want the Cubs to win. We think that we can get there in different ways, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, if we are Cubs winning the World Series at the end of the year, and you're sitting next to me and you wanted them to win with prospects and I wanted them to win with free agent signings, we're both hugging, high-fiving after that final pitch. We are Cubs fans at heart. And for that reason, I think that we have to stand true to this, which is this organization, the way it's being run right now, will not win another World Series doing it the way that they are.
No more questions, Your Honor. It's just a chef's kiss end to that segment.
All right, Setup Nation. Ty and I are picking it up right now before we go back to Alex for the Toronto look ahead. Cubs lose the series to the Cardinals. We're going to do a quick wrap up. Oh, man, Ty, where to start on this one? Let's start with the scores. So, first of all, game one, you had a 5-0 loss to the Cardinals. Game two, a 9-1 win. And then on Sunday Night Baseball, the Cubs lose in front of the entire world 3-2 on a controversial ninth inning, we'll call it. I got to be honest. My son was in the ER on Friday and Saturday, so baseball was the last thing on my mind. So Ty, I want to really just kind of like start with you here. Friday, Saturday games before we talk about Sundays, which I think was a big deal. Any takeaways from those games?
I mean, game one was the telling story of what the second half has brought us for this team. Limited offense, relying on our starting pitching, which we shouldn't have to at this point, and the offense needs to just find a way. It's been this ever-revolving door right now of when we have great games and bad games, and Friday night was just that. Saturday, of course, the score tells the story here. The offense, of course, found its way. Michael Busch had an unbelievable day, of course, 2 for 5 with a double and home run and 3 RBIs. That 3-run homer he had really kind of put the game away. Carson Kelly with an outstanding first 2 games as well. He was 4 for 8 with 4 singles and an RBI as well. And then finally, Shaw and Swanson had a big game 2 as well, and Shaw really showed out, of course, in game 3. I did want to touch on really quick on Colin Ray. Just with game 2. I know both of the starts now he's had against the Cardinals. He has had 7 runs from the offense by the 3rd inning, which does wonders for you. Maybe, Jed and couple other people could understand that as maybe, a lineup. If you have a good lineup, you don't necessarily have to put it all on the pitching, but he was outstanding, right? Against the Cardinals this year, 12 2/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 earned, 4 walks, and 10 Ks of 1.42 ERA. It's been outstanding. And the last thing I'll touch on before we get to game 3 here was the base running. Kyle, this is a proponent of a lack of offensive production, but the Cubs did have 2 stolen bases, and the last stolen base the Cubs have had was 10 games prior on July 27th against the White Sox, which they had 7, which was that game that was just pretty much out of reach for the White Sox right away. But it does, again, like I mentioned, it's a product of the offense having such the struggles that it's had, is that we haven't been able to use the base paths to our advantage, even though at times maybe we should have more and more, based off of how desperate the team has obviously been to get run production. They're still 4th in all of baseball with that. But again, the telling story of this entire series comes down to game 3. So
I want you to repeat that. Are you saying that the last time any Cub had stolen a base was 10 games before this Sunday night game?
July 27th versus the White Sox. Yep.
I think about the first half of the season, and let's just call it the first 2 months of the season, and just how exciting this team was. And the reason for that was their base running. And, you have Justin Steele from the sidelines tweeting about it. Best base running team for the Cubs in a very long time. And then it's perplexing to me because I want to say, and I might be quoting this wrong, was it the Monday night game against the Reds? It was like a 1-run game. And the Cubs had Pete Crow Armstrong on first base, and then Nico ends up lining into a double play, but he never made a single attempt to steal second base. And I think at that time it was either tied or they were down 1. And I think that just kind of sums up this team right now. Like, they steal a base on Sunday, Pete Armstrong, then next pitch gets picked off. It's like they're trying too hard when they shouldn't, and then they're not trying hard enough when they should.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And I want to correct myself. I did say 7 stolen bases. It was 3 against the White Sox. They had 7 a couple games prior to that against Kansas City. So just want to make sure I check myself there. But it's the thing is that we talk about them enough, of course, and I think Brewers fans would probably be thrilled to hear any references of the Cubs at this point. But I don't watch a lot of Brewers baseball to say this like as a strict fact, but what it's felt like from the games I've been able to watch over the last couple of years is that even from an offensive production side of things, they, even at times when they don't have their offense rolling like they do right now, they still find ways to win ball games, and they do that through speed, and they do have stolen bases late in the game that affect the rest of the game. And so, yes, Kyle, I would agree. Look, they've averaged almost a stolen base per game this year. The Cubs have. They're 4th in all of baseball. The problem is that it seems like when we don't have anything going our way on the offensive side of the baseball, we seem to rely then on our offensive production, which isn't even there in the first place.
Waiting for that big hit.
Exactly. And it's just such a shame that, tonight is the story of it in game 3.
Well, it's a shame that we had to speak for 30 minutes about the disappointment in the organization. I really thought after that Matt Shaw home run on Sunday night that we would be spinning for a little bit into positivity, but here we are, Cubs losing their 2nd consecutive series. And by the way, 3rd consecutive series against a divisional opponent, which has shades of 2024. And I think the big thing for me, Ty, is like, there has been flashes in the second half of like, okay, here we go. They come out first of all, and they win the series against the Red Sox, which was a team on fire. And then they lose the series against the Royals. They win the series against the White Sox. Didn't look all that great against the White Sox. Lose the series against the Brewers. But then again, like, this is where it kind of felt like it was going to turn around. That Wednesday getaway day, they win 10-3, and Moises Ballesteros with a big hit. The offense turns it on. You're like, okay, here we go. They're only 1 back of the Brewers at that time. Feels like, they're doing pretty well. Well, then They have a pretty lackluster series against the Orioles. Yeah, they won the series, but again, just wasn't anything special. Well, then against the Reds, they lose the series. But again, that big Wednesday getaway game, 6-1, a complete game. They looked great top to bottom. Then on Saturday against the Cardinals, looked great from top to bottom. Again, I didn't get to watch the game. I had to watch the highlights, but the offense is on, the pitching's on with Colin Ray, and you just feel like it's kind of like a golf game. Like you have a good drive, but then you can't put your irons or your putting game together after that. That's kind of how I feel like this team has been. It's like they have this step forward and then 2 steps back in this second half. And it's disappointing that we have to talk about that. But Sunday night, to your point, just not getting much offense done. And I had a friend tweet me, and I want to get your take on this 9th inning, because that's really the story to me. Friend tweeted at me saying, why in the world are we pinch hitting Justin Turner for PCA? Well, PCA has been one of the worst hitters in the month of August. He's been miserable. And I get it. Get him on, could steal a base, but Justin Turner's actually been pretty damn good against lefties, especially here in the second half. I was okay with it. And then, of course, doesn't pan out, but then safe route, John Birdie. What'd you got?
I don't know. The funniest thing is that I can't remember who on the broadcast booth said that maybe the oven mitt actually wasn't going to work out this time. And I've just been sending all my buddies effing oven mitt is my text. Any of the texts I've got from any of my Cardinal buddies or my Cubs buddies. It's just the disappointing part is that, and you could see it on PCA's face.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the most telling thing for me. And I do want to preface this by saying something that may be controversial, but that may have been the best thing for PCA there.
Yeah.
And because I know how much he takes things to heart, and I know how much him getting out at second base impacted him for the rest of the game. Hell, he was the guy that they were talking to while he's on the field, of course, when Pages hit the bomb. It was a tough day for the kid. He's 23 years old. I hear it from a bunch of people now, like, hey, like, is he a platoon option moving forward? Look, I'm not going down that route with how well of a season this kid has had. But the fact is that he has had a rough stretch. It was bound to happen.
Yeah.
And I felt like Craig Counsell made the best decision to try to win a baseball game tonight. And I give him a lot of credit for doing that. And if you think as a fan that PCA should have been up in that position based on the fact that he had a cheap hit earlier in the game, I'm sorry, you haven't watched what this kid has not done,
especially against
the last
lefties.
month.
Especially
He's
against
been
lefties.
awful against lefties.
Yeah.
So he didn't earn that opportunity. That's the fact. He hasn't earned the opportunity to be in that position. And Justin Turner has done a tremendous job over the last 2 months against lefties and off the bench. There comes a point where you need a professional at bat, and PCA hasn't given one to us against lefties in a very, very long time.
And if you did tie it, you have Willie Castro in center field, who, by the way, can still play a pretty decent center field from what we've seen so far. By the way, that face on PCA too, I don't think that any fan should think that PCA is mad at Craig Counsell. Knowing PCA and what we know about him, he's mad at himself.
Bingo.
Right? Like that guy knows how to take ownership, which is not something that many that all players can do. So for a 23-year-old to be able to do that is pretty cool. I got safe. I'm sorry. I don't think the oven mitt came off. I don't think it did. The dark shadow made it very difficult to see. However, because it was so close and because and I had to listen to the game. I had to listen to the game on mute for internal family kid taking nap situations. But the reason that they kept pausing it right there, I'm like, I know they were asking the question, did his oven mitt pop off? And because of that, if the call would have been originally safe, it would have remained safe. But it didn't.
Bingo.
And for that reason, I was like, this is going to remain.
And of course, Nico hits a single. Dansby hits a single. Everybody thinks he would have scored. That's obviously the case. And it was the right guy up with one out. With Nico coming up with one out was just a beautiful situation. So it's unfortunate. Would Pete have gotten it if he was, sorry, that wouldn't make sense because it wasn't Pete who got on first base there. But
well, I'll tell you what, this is just another reason not to go down this route because we don't have enough time, but just another reason why John Birdie is not an asset on this team. He's just not. He's not. Even if he stole
My
that
mind is
base
all over
tie,
the
I'd be
place.
even if he stole that base tie, I'd be saying the same thing, because I'm not going to wait around for 2 months for you to steal a base in a 1-run game in the 9th inning for you to make an impact on this team. And then when you do get the shot and you're out, I'm not putting that much pressure on him. But that's why when fans keep on saying like John Birdie should stay on the team because he's got speed, it's not a good enough reason. Moises Ballesteros is down in AAA. Owen Casey's down in AAA raking. We need a bat on the team. We don't need a pair of legs on the team right now. We need a bat. So end of rant. Before we go over back to Alex for the wrap up, or not the wrap up, the look ahead to the Toronto series, anything else about the Cardinals series that you wanted to talk about?
So really, it's just it puts a dull on another game where you thought this is where we move on, right?
Mm-hmm.
We move on and we have a big game, and just wasn't the case. It's unfortunate.
Yep, and Cubs are now 6 back of the Milwaukee Brewers.
It's not even a conversation at this point to talk about, how do we reach them? It's wild card. That's it.
It's wild card at this point. Unless the Brewers just have an ultimate meltdown, it is wild card at this point. And it's crazy because a little over a month ago, they had a 6.5 game lead over the Brewers. That is a 12.5 game gain. And you can't put all that pressure on the Cubs. They played basically 500 ball during that time, but that's not good enough for a first place team. But the way that the Brewers are playing, out of this world, 33-9, I believe, in their last 42, crazy. We didn't get to talk about in the look ahead, so I will just lead us back to Alex with the look ahead to the Toronto series. At the time we recorded, we didn't have pitchers. Now we do for the Cubs, at least on Monday. Ben Brown.
Tuesday.
Sorry. Okay.
Tuesday.
So I'm just reading Taylor's quote. Sorry, Taylor. So Tuesday, Ben Brown.
Yep.
Wednesday, Cade Horton. Thursday, Matt Boyd. Thank you for correcting me. I am reading it off a tweet. We're going to send it back to Alex.
All right. Let's talk Toronto. So Cubs are headed to Toronto, Canada to have a 3-gamer against the Blue Jays. Blue Jays, kind of a weird second half. A little bit streaky, but Ty has some inside information on the Blue Jays. Ty,
we need that breaking news sound again.
If I can click it that fast. Ty has sources within Blue Jays.
I want to give a shout out to my buddy who's in the content space for the Jays, because you're sitting there and I'm looking at this team and they've had a very, very good year. I kind of look at them almost like the Cubs a little bit, where it's just they've outperformed projections, right? Addison Barger, Ernie Clement, Dalton Varsho, they signed Vladdy. Bo Bichette's had a heck of a year thus far, right? But I wanted to offer to the fans just some insight and maybe how it can relate to sort of our year thus far, right? So I talked to a buddy of mine. He talked about how a couple of things. One is the Jays pitching is prone to the prone to the home run ball. And it sounds like is that if we can get some runners on, they aren't necessarily that great when they've had runners in scoring position. And then when it comes to their offensive side of things, it sounds a little bit like Milwaukee. They are going to work you to death on counts, right? They are going to try to get runners on and use their speed and try and create chaos in a way like the Brewers do. It looks like George Springer is going to try to be back for that series as well. Overall, it's not going to be a walk in the park. I mean, we're heading up to Toronto, and then we got to fly back down, I believe, against Pittsburgh. Is Pittsburgh the series?
Yes, that's the weekend series. Yep.
So kind of a weird trip. You're going to go up there. You're going to find Tommy Hortons. I know the team is huge into coffee, right? So Tim Hortons, excuse me. Sorry, I apologize to my Canadian fans. I am so sorry. A couple Tim Hortons coffees, a couple donuts, trying to, hey, what do the beans taste like up here in the great state or country of Canada? Sorry, that was a bad reference. But there might be some distractions for this team, and it's going to be tough, guys. I don't really know what to say at this point about how they're going to perform, because our ball club has just been all over the place this entire second half. So that's my insider info I didn't want to like go too in depth, so I'm not talking about too many different things, but that's the info I got. Back to you, Alex.
I have a trend that's been a little odd. So I noticed, since the All-Star break, let's just get my handy-dandy pocket schedule out. So since the All-Star break, they won the series against Boston, lost against Kansas City, won against the White Sox, lost against the Brewers, won against Baltimore, lost against Cincinnati. If the Cubs win tonight, that'll mean they won against St. Louis. Because, again, we're pre-recorded in this, which means they're going to lose the series in Toronto. And then, well, that doesn't spell good for next week when we have to play Milwaukee 5 times. But also, they have horseshoes up their asses because Isaac Collins hit a walk-off today. And it's getting outrageous.
Did we just turn the conversation about Toronto into Milwaukee?
Well, that's coming. But just the pattern so far means we're going to lose in Toronto, beat Pittsburgh, and then Milwauke's going to take our lunch money.
Good night,
Based
Canada.
on that pattern.
Listen, I mean, Alex should be bitter because he's the one that created this team.
He sure
it's his
did.
fault.
I am untethered and my rage knows no bounds!
All time, I saw them twice in person while they were in the gutter. Since I said it, they become the best team. They've become the 27 Yankees. I can't explain it, and I hate every single day that I live in this state. I love my hometown, but this home state has been a nightmare for people like me.
For context, in case you guys missed it, I tweeted about it here on Sunday, August 10th. Right after the Brewers walked off the Mets, I just did a little bit of recon. On May 4th on our show, Alex said, I just don't think the Brewers got it this year.
I don't know, Jim.
Flat. And you referenced a few things like Pat Murphy being a little bitter in a post-game conference. Brewers were 17
negative, yeah.
Yeah, Brewers were 17-18 on that day. Since then, they are 56-26. And y'all, that is a 109 game winning pace if you put that over 162 games. So all I'm going to say is I stopped believing in jinxes right around 2016. Something happened there that made me stop believing them. But that has brought it back for me. So you're going to see me like with very specific types of like, I got to be holding a bat in one hand while I'm watching the game, or I got to have a beer in one hand, and it matters which hand it's in depending on which inning it is. So like all that's back because of Alex Brault.
Breaking news, they showed the umpire kit again on the screen. Back to you.
I made my comments I made it clear on Twitter yesterday. If you want to follow me, that's at AJ Brault on Twitter. Happy he found his calling, happy he found his passion. But I'm getting a little sick of Ump Kid. They show him more times than Taylor Swift at a Chiefs game, and I'm at my wit's end with it. Congratulations, kid. And he did a bit for us. I check out Kyle's Twitter for that, but I'm done with it. I'm over it.
So long story short, we're losing the Jays series. Is that what's going on?
And we're going to sweep Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and don't worry, we'll dominate Pittsburgh just in time to get absolutely trounced by Milwaukee.
I can't wait, boys. I can't believe. No, the funny part is that like after all of this, after everything that's happened, we could go into that series and could come out divisional leaders, like leading the division. How hilarious is that?
Don't give me hope.
Listen, I'm drinking Coors. What are you drinking?
Yeah,
no, I know. I'm literally, you guys know this. I am not here to be positive about this team, but it is actually truly hilarious as to how insane their stretch has been.
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable. But I mean, it's obviously it's like a 0% chance at this point that we lead in the division after those 5 games. But yeah, I just want to make sure we reference the umpire kit again on this show because I thought that was important.
And I would just like to, I don't know if I'm ever going to put on this outfit again. I don't know if I'm ever going to be here as there's a high drive by Nick Castellanos in the left center field. I am deeply, deeply sorry. I'm a man of God. So, yeah, it's my fault that the Brewers are amazing. It's just, I can't handle it. Well, what a happy show this has been. So that's going to do it for us. I'm going to go sulk in some sort of alcohol. The boys are going to go ice up. And thank you for watching this fantastic episode of the Setup Man Podcast. Make sure on your way out the door, hit that like and subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, and hit that little bell so anytime we put out any sort of content, you will be the first to know. Audio only audience, you're missing out because wow, what a treasure the YouTube has been. But make sure you do us a favor, hit that subscribe button on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're so inclined, please leave a 5-star review. Boys, we'll see you Thursday night. And hopefully the trend breaks and they beat Toronto. But we'll find out then. We'll see everybody. So long.